Serby Media.
Hello, Gabby.
Hello, John, and welcome all to a chapter of my life with author John Hellier. How are you?
Hello, Gabby. I'm fine, thank you. Yourself?
Good. It's been a while since we spoke last. Just before we get into the conversation about your new book, which is a very exciting book, and I can't wait to get a signed copy of it myself.
You'll be amongst the first.
Thank you. Let's talk about some of your previous work.
Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, where do you want to start, Gabby? Yeah.
Well, you're big with the small faces, aren't you? You wrote that magnificent book about Ronnie, and you also co-wrote one, I believe, about Steve Marriott.
Steve, yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, on the book front, as I say, I co-wrote Steve Marriott's biography, All Too Beautiful, with Paolo Hewitt back in 2004. There's a new edition of that out later this year with some additional material, which is very interesting. Ronnie's book, Can You Show Me a Dream? That was just 2 or 3 years ago, again with Paolo Hewitt, and pretty successful. In between those two books, there was a collaboration with Paul Weller on a Small Faces book called Here Come the Nice, a biography on Peter Meaden, Ace Face mod from the 60s, the guy that was famously sold the Who's contract for £500, and Darling's a Whopping Wolf Small Faces book. I was responsible for 40 issues of fanzine, which went out worldwide, and it's a 400-page sort of best of. On the book front, that's pretty much it. I mean, other than that, I've been responsible for putting on a Ronnie Lane Memorial show at the Royal Albert Hall in 2004. The Steve Marriott Memorial Show at the London Astoria in 2001, and hosted Small Faces conventions in central London for 20 years. That's just a few things that I've been up to, matey. It keeps me busy, keeps me off the streets.
Absolutely first class, and some quality work with, I've got to say, some quality people. Now, this is just as high class as your previous encounters. It's an audience with the governor, Alan Hudson. How different and how difficult was it writing previous books in music and being so immersed in music all your life to write a book about one of the greatest footballers that's ever graced a football pitch?
Incredible. Yeah. Well, I mean, very easy, really. But firstly, I mean, it was nice for me to actually change the genre, if you like. People associate me so much these days with music and mod and all those sort of things. So it's very, very nice to do something a little bit different. But there's nobody else, no other footballer really in the history of the game that I would rather have written a book with, because, I mean, Alan Hudson was my total hero from way back in the early 1970s. I mean, he was the guy, for me anyway, that had it all. He had style, flamboyance, charisma. He had all those things in abundance, but not only on the football pitch, off the football pitch as well. I mean, he was, complete with all that sort of Kings Road clobber, if you like. He was just the coolest guy around. He really was.
And also a massive lover himself, in his own right, of music.
Oh, he loves music. Yeah, I mean, the things that how I got involved with Alan, a bit ironic, really, because I was so in awe of this guy. I really was. I mean, going way back again, sort of, almost half a century ago now. I remember doing. I've always been an Arsenal supporter.
Yeah.
Now, but I did the unthinkable one Saturday afternoon and made the trip to West Ham to watch Alan Hudson play for Chelsea against West Ham. I just went there just to see Alan Hudson, and I still remember that day so vividly because, I mean, as well as sort of marvelling over his magnificent footwork, there was me also marvelling over his sort of haircut.
Yeah.
And as shallow as that sounds, for me as an old sort of 60s mod, looking the part was sort of everything. And Alan Hudson, was everything. Really. He really was. He was so hip, and he looked every bit as cool as any sort of rock star from that era. He really did. So he was always there, if you like, at the top of my list of people that I would love to meet. And And fast forward sort of 30 years or so, when I was hosting a book launch for the Steve Marriott book, actually, in 2004 in London's West End, a good friend of mine, a guy called Dean Powell, attended the book launch, and he got a message to me. I mean, the venue it's only a small venue, but it was actually packed to the hill, and I was actually flying about, signing books, talking to the press, and then I was really up to my neck in it. But Dean got a message to me to say that he was in the building, and he with his mate, an ex-footy star, Alan Hudson. I thought, wow, really, as I say, the excitement of that evening, really sort of, travelled. But anyway, by the time I could get away from all the things that I was doing, Dad left. I never saw him. I never met him. I was absolutely gutted. I really, really was. And that was it. Then there was only fast forward another 15 years or so. And another very good friend, Lewis Griffiths, who you know very well, who's actually, the publisher of this book. And he really is, publisher extraordinaire. And he rings me up and tells me that he's meeting an ex-footy star in a West London boozer, and would I like to go along? Who is it, I asked? Alan Hudson. Would I what? I mean, absolute no-brainer, mate. I mean, I was there like a flash. I mean, whatever I had planned for that day, would have been dropped. I could, having missed, that golden opportunity at my book launch, I wasn't going to make the same mistake again. And that afternoon, I think, was it 2017? A couple of years ago now, anyway. We met in Alan's favourite pub with the Golden Lion in Fulham, and met my hero, and as I say, a friendship was merged pretty much there and then. I mean, I tell you what, Gabby, I mean, I sat there mesmerised by his sort of wonderful anecdotes and stories of his life adventures. I mean, he's a natural storyteller, as you well know. I mean, I'm preaching to the converted here, and you've had Alan on your show so many times, I mean, the stories were absolutely awesome. And the thing is, as you well know, there are lots of highs and lots of lows, in his life and career, but everything, that came out of his mouth was sort of both insightful and incredibly entertaining, I mean, and also controversial, but entertaining, the guy had and still has, this sort of charisma in bucket loads. And, I was just totally absorbed by all these great stories. I mean, he really had me in stitches that afternoon, and we went out lots of times after that. And I don't know, I think it was about second, third, fourth time sort of I'm out with Lewis and I in the pub, and the idea for the book came about because, I mean, it would have been lovely to have written his biography, but that had already been done, and Al done it himself. And so it was decided really between, Lewis, myself, and Al to take a different approach. And I've been on this book for 15 months now, but I mean, it's mainly just editing it all together, really, because I mean, all the stories are Al's, out of Al's own mouth, and yourself, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful stories. And the thing is, it's the book is a 300-page book, but it's just a collection of great stories, and there's lots and lots and lots of different chapters, and they all sort of stand on their own, if you like. And you don't. It's not a book that you need to read from start to finish. You can just pick it up, flip through, and pick out a story and read it. They're all just random stories, but absolutely. I don't know. Sometimes I'm sitting here 2, 3 in the morning working on the book, and I'm laughing out loud, all to myself. There's just unbelievably. I think it's quite a unique sort of football book. I've read so many football biographies, and some good ones, but I've never really found one with the humour, if you like, that this one's got. And everything that comes out of Al's mouth is true. He's that sort of guy. He doesn't exaggerate or make things up. I mean, wonderful, wonderful stories. And you would have heard most of them yourself, but I mean, it's nice to get them all down in print.
Yeah, I mean, we've done quite a few shows together, Alan, myself, and I do
I know
work
you
quite
have, yeah.
closely with him. We covered his career, Hood at 50, and from his debut on the 1st of February
Yeah,
1969. So yeah, you're right, it was
yeah.
50 years ago, and we do another one, My Life, My Music, because of Alan's love for music. What also
Yeah, I think,
comes
yeah,
across
yeah.
with Alan is such a lovely, humble guy, and I know for a fact he absolutely loves you and Lewis, and he loves getting
Well,
down the boozer and having a few with you
well,
pair of
that's
lads.
lovely. Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah, and I was with him yesterday. We done a TV show together yesterday for London Live, and he speaks incredibly well of you as well, Gabby. So, it's just, the type of guy that he is, and if he likes you, he likes you. And fortunately, for me and you and Lewis, we come out on the good side. But no, I think he's great. And as I say, with those, he's great company. He's always got great stories to tell. And you know yourself, I mean, it hasn't all been about ups and downs. Ups, is it? There's been lots of downs as
Yeah.
well. But he's a very positive guy. Really is.
Any favourite Alan Hudson stories that you've got in the book? Is there anything that just pings out and hits you? And one, as you say, with Alan, it really is a kind of a life story of pain and glory.
Oh,
And
no, certainly, yeah.
and I've
Yeah.
said to Alan, you must be the most unluckiest genius I've ever known.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, Alan was what still is. He's very much his own man,
Yeah,
isn't he? I mean,
yeah, definitely.
he reminds me a lot of Steve Marriott in terms of I've done Steve's book, and Steve was the same. He was always his own man. I think done things his way, if you like, and he wasn't anybody. He wasn't somebody to compromise, if you like, and in a way, in life. Sometimes that works against you. I mean, you perhaps come up against obstacles and perhaps don't earn a good living from it, as much as the guys, if you like, that do play the game. But it's something in a person that's there to be admired. Well, I think so anyway. I mean, I tell you what. I mean, read. I've got a sample copy back recently from the printer. I know Lewis has had a first print run done because we're doing a launch on Sunday. But I just been briefly sort of running through it over the last few days, and I still find myself giggling at some of the stories. I mean, there's some great ones there, and you've probably heard them. But I mean, one in particular, I can't really remember off the top of my head to go into too deeply. Is the one where he talks about sponsorship in the old days.
Yeah.
Have you spoken about that one? Where where the groundsman or whoever sort of used to paint stripes on the boots. It's such footballers that wanted to wear their own boots, but wanted sponsorship from certain companies. That they would sort of paint logos on the side, stripes, to make them look as if they were something that they weren't really.
Yeah.
But of course, that all sort of when you're playing out in the pouring rain, those stripes they wash off by half time. So I mean, there's things like that. I mean, yeah, true story. They used to do all those sort of things. Very, very good. But I mean, I keep talking about the humour, but I mean, there's lots of insight into the game. During Al's time in the book as well, but very, very sort of interesting insight. And all the big players in the game are in the book, but again, as you would know, Gabby, there's one name that just appears so much more than any other, and it's not George Best or Bobby Moore, it's Tony Waddington, isn't it? He's Stoke City manager.
Yeah.
He was undoubtedly sort of Al's benchmark. He was his level of quality, if you like, was used as standard when comparing to others. And it's clear from reading this book, writing it as well, that he was Al's biggest hero in the game. Not all the others, the so-called superstars. It was Tony Waddington. Tony Waddington really comes out of this book very, very well.
Well, it was Wad the God that pretty much convinced the media and England's press to give Alan Hudson his debut against West Germany, because Revy and Alan will swear black is blue, and he's absolutely right that Revy picked him to fail. He could have picked him in games previously because he'd been involved in the England setup, but that was really due to Tony Waddington. And when Alan went back to Stoke City, I mean, Alan jokingly says he only wanted me back because he was missing his drinking partner. And I've said to Alan many occasions, if Tony Waddington would have had Alan Hudson at 17 and Alan Hudson would have stayed injury free, Alan Hudson would have made over 100 caps and appearances for England. No question about that, in my opinion.
I do agree with you. I mean, when you look at Al's England career, and if you like the latter bit, and the reasons why, it's sort of criminal, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you look at some of these, certainly, mediocre sort of players that end up with 30 or 50 or 60 caps to their name, these days, it's unbelievable that people like Alan Hudson and one or two others I can think of, Steve Perryman and Charlie George, people like that,
Yeah.
But they were all a little bit rebellious, and it sort of worked against them, didn't it? But great footballers.
I think when you express your opinions and when you play in a certain way, and certainly in days gone by, and players like Alan Hudson and Tony Curry and Frank Worthington and Stan Bowles and Charlie and so on and so forth were all deemed mavericks. Rodney Marsh, another one that springs to mind. These were players that the established England set up and Blazers and school ties didn't like those type of players because they couldn't control those kind of players. But those were our heroes, and those were the players that made us as kids put a pair of boots on and try and replicate that when we played on a Saturday or a Sunday for our school or for our Sunday team.
Oh, I know, very wholeheartedly, I really do. They were also like players, other players. Like, would love them. I know that Alan was a big influence on people like Gazza and Glenn Hoddle. People like that, they both speak so highly of him. I think Alan told me, he was probably told you as well, that he played against Glenn Hoddle when Glenn Hoddle made his debut. And I think Alan, rated him and was very encouraging and said, gave him words of encouragement. And I think that stuck with Glenn all through his sort of career. But people like that, if you've got people like that sort of, looking up to you and more or less basing some of their success on sort of watching you previous, that says a lot, doesn't it, for the likes of Alan? And some of those other names that you just mentioned,
Yeah, for sure. I don't think you'd have many other football players talking a young player through his debut when he's playing against you. But that's just what Alan Hudson is. He's the most giving, most humble, most appreciative person that I've come in contact with in my life. And some of these stories, people will say, "No, you're joking. You've embellished that," and truly, it hasn't been embellished. What you see with Alan Hudson is what you get. Sometimes you might have to calm it down a bit because people probably wouldn't believe the truth, but it is the truth.
No, it is the truth. Yeah, but that's what there's one thing he most certainly is, and that's truthful. I think everything that comes out of his mouth is the truth, and and that's great because it's so easy for people that have been around for as long as Alan's been around, to exaggerate and embellish on things. But no, it's that's what makes the stories all the better. Knowing that, just as I pick up a book that somebody's written such recently or 10 years ago, and you read it and enjoy it, but you're never totally convinced, are you, that everything you've just read is truthful? Because people do make things up, to make a good read. But that's certainly not the case here, and for me that makes it all the more appealing.
And how are you selling the book? So you've got a website, which is all the W's, alanhudson.co.uk. You've got your book launch as well, Saturday the 18th of August at the Chelsea Pensioner.
Chelsea Pensioner, it's Chelsea's first home game, so that should be quite exciting. But Lewis is, Lewis did a marvellous job with the publishing and the marketing, incredibly good. I mean, he's got the book to number 1 on iTunes already, would you believe? It's in front of the new Jurgen Klopp book even. So, I mean, and the book's not even officially out to the weekend. So, we're hoping for good things. I mean, at the moment, I believe the best place to order the book, pre-order or order, is Lewis's Alan Hudson website. Is it Alan-Hudson? Have you got the address there, actually?
Yeah, I think it's
Alan.
Yeah, I think it's alanhudson.co.uk. But if it isn't, guys, just Google it. I'm sure it is. I don't think there's a dash in it. But it wouldn't be the first time in my life, John, that I've been wrong.
It doesn't matter, because there's always Google these days, isn't there?
It's a fine piece of kit, isn't it, Google? But just don't go on Wikipedia and don't take that literally, because sometimes that's wrong. But you did reference keeping Jurgen Klopp off the top spot, but you also kept Pep Guardiola off the top spot as well. He may be the world's greatest coach, but he hasn't got the number one slot in the iBooks chart, because Alan Hudson has got that.
I would really sort of hope that this book brings Alan to a whole new audience, really. Hence, the book. I mean, obviously, guys of a certain age would know all about him if you're interested in football, of course. But I mean, it would be lovely to sort of bring him to a younger generation as well, because he was a big inspiration behind a lot of the big stars of the last 20 years or so. And who knows, if the book's successful, hopefully things will come from it that benefit Al. Yeah. That's what we're hoping anyway.
Well, let's hope and have a brilliant book launch on Sunday, mate. I wished I could be there, but living so far away, it's not going to be possible. And it's one of my grandson's birthdays as well, so I'll get absolutely hammered if I get that train down to London and see you guys. But all the best going forward, mate. We'll keep in touch. We're all part of one big team, and there's only one Alan Hudson, and we're all looking forward to an audience with Alan Hudson and possibly a book tour. And you never know, a couple of Q&As could come out of that as well, because I think nice, getting venues up and down the country for Alan Hudson, I think would absolutely be fantastic.
I can't think of anybody better to do a Q&A than Alan Hudson. Really, those stories will flow. Yeah. Okay, no, that's smashing. Thanks very much, Guppy.
Top man, till next time. Catch you later, John. Thanks, pal.
Yeah,
bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.
SRB Media.